Michael Wittmann is without a doubt the best known tank ace in history. With his 138 so-called kills, he is certainly one of the best. But who was Michael Wittmann? Michael Wittmann is definitely an interesting man. He's one of the few members of the SS who is still respected by many thanks to his incredible skill as a tank commander. Wittmann's best known action is without a doubt the Villers-Bocage ambush. At Villers-Bocage he destroyed an entire British column consisted of tanks, armoured vehicles and anti-tank guns in just 15 minutes. On the 22nd of April 1914, a boy was born in the town of Vogeltal in Bavaria. That boy would grow to become a Nazi propaganda machine. Wittmann came from a family of farmers. He had one brother and 3 sisters. After his school career, the 16-year-old Wittmann came working with his dad on the farm, which Wittmann decided to leave in 1933. 1 year later in 1934, Wittmann joined the Freiwilliger Arbeitsdienst, or volunteer labour service. During his time in the volunteer labour service, the young Wittmann found his calling. He wanted to join the German army. At the end of 1934, Wittmann signed up for a 2-year lasting period in the army. He would join the ranks of the 19th Infantry Regiment, which was based in Freising, Bavaria. During his training with the 19th Infantry Regiment, Wittmann came face to face with a Panzer for the first time. It was in his training that he first saw the Panzerkampfwagen I. The young Michael Wittmann was immediately fascinated by it. By working on the farm he had seen many pieces of machines, but nothing like the Panzer I. The passion for armoured warfare began. After his 2 years of service in the regular army, Wittmann had received the rank of Gefreiter when he was honorably discharged. After his period with the regular army, Wittmann joined the ranks of the SS. In April 1937 he was assigned to the regiment, what would later become the Leibstandarte SS Adolf Hitler Division. In the SS he trained to become a member of an armoured car. At the end of 1937, Wittmann was promoted to SS Sturmmann. 1 year later he participated in the Anschluss or annexation of Austria and the occupation of Sudetenland. He would also join the Nazi Party in the same year, even though he didn't appear to be a fanatic National Socialist. In 1939 Michael Wittmann was again promoted. The young Wittmann now had the rank of SS Unterscharführer. Due to the Blitzkrieg, Wittmann didn't see any major action in the first year of the war. Moreover, Wittmann was assigned as a training NCO to a newly formed company. A major change for Wittmann came in 1940. In that year, Wittmann was transferred from the armoured car platoon to an assault gun battery, where he would command the Stück 3 Ausführung A. After the training was complete in 1940, he was sent to the Balkan campaign the year after, in 1941, where the Leibstandarte played a spearhead role in the assault. Although Wittmann didn't see any big action, he did take part in the capture of the Greek 13th Division. After the smaller campaigns, Wittmann was sent to the biggest campaign of all, the Ostfront. On the 12th of July 1941, Wittmann was ordered to move towards a hill known as Point 56.5. which was a great vantage point for the German attackers. After reaching the hill, Wittmann and his crew saw 18 Russian T-34s closing in on them. The crew successfully destroyed the first T-34, the first of Wittmann's many kills. In his first tank-on-tank action, Wittmann and his crew destroyed 6 Soviet tanks. Wittmann would receive the Iron Cross Second Class for his actions on the 12th of July 1941. By October of the same year, Wittmann saw numerous actions, knocking out some more T-34s. On the 10th of October, Wittmann was yet again promoted. He now had the rank of SS Oberscharführer and was ready for officer training. At the end of November, after participating in the capture of Rostov-on-Don, Wittmann was presented the Panzerkampfabzeichen, or Tank Assault Badge in silver, for taking part in 25 actions. In 1942, Wittmann returned to Germany for the officer training. He was billeted in Bad Tolz in Bavaria. After his training, Michael Wittmann was transferred to the Panzers as officer candidate. At the end of 1942 he was positioned in the Heavy Panzer Replacement and Training Battalion 500. This unit was located in Paderborn. There he received a new promotion. Wittmann quickly rose through the ranks. At the end of 1942 he was an SS Untersturmführer. Wittmann then moved to France, where he would see the famous Tiger I for the first time in his career. Becoming a Tiger I commander needed a lot of training, which he underwent in France. In January 1943, Wittmann was back on the Ostfront. He was part of the 4th Heavy Company of the SS Regiment 1. Before commanding the Tiger I, Wittmann was first assigned to command a platoon of Panzer IIIs. In April 1943, Wittmann was finally given his 57-ton beast that is a Tiger I. He was assigned to command the newly formed 4th Platoon. Wittmann's first Tiger had turret number 411. In May 1943, the 4th Company was renamed to the 13th Heavy Company, so the turret numbers had to be changed. Wittmann now had number 1331. Wittmann would soon have to take his Tiger I to what is until today one of the biggest tank battles in history, the Battle of Kursk, known as Operation Citadelle. On the first day of the Battle of Kursk, 5th of July 1943, Wittmann suffered some bad luck with the tank, and one of his crew members was seriously injured. Nonetheless, they managed to destroy 15 Russian pieces of equipment, 8 tanks and 7 ZIS anti-tank guns. Just before the Battle of Prokhorovka, the 29-year-old Wittmann already had destroyed some 30 Russian tanks. The 12th of July 1943 saw the Battle of Prokhorovka, where Wittmann had the duty to protect the left flank of the Leibstandarte Division. In a battle where the German tanks were outnumbered 3-1, Wittmann and his fellow tankers held their ground. Prokhorovka was a tactic victory to the Germans, but no real objectives were gained. The 2nd SS Panzer Corps, of which the Leibstandarte was a part of, destroyed some 300 Russian tanks that day. On July 17, 1943, the 2nd SS Panzer Corps was withdrawn from battle, and Wittmann and his crew moved to Italy. It was in Italy that the 101st Heavy Panzer Battalion was formed. New Tigers arrived to bring the 101st up to strength of 27 tanks. Wittmann commanded a 2nd platoon, with under him 4 Panzers. At the end of 1943, Wittmann and the newly formed 101st Heavy Panzer Battalion set off for the Ostfront once more. On the 13th of November 1943, after literally being thrown into action from the start to stop the Soviet advance near Brusilov, Wittmann and his crew managed to destroy some 24 Soviet armoured pieces. Nonetheless, the situation was grim, definitely when Wittmann's Tiger broke down some days later. On the 21st of November, Wittmann took his crippled Tiger back on the field to deal with the Soviet threat. He and his crew would destroy 13 tanks and 7 AT guns that day. The following month, Wittmann and his crew kept racking up kills left, right and centre. When the war entered the year 1944, Wittmann destroyed another 9 Soviet tanks, and on January the 10th, Wittmann was finally recommended for the Ritterkreuz, known as the Knight's Cross of the Iron Cross, which he received 4 days later. In that brief period, Wittmann destroyed another 22 Soviet tanks. The counter was already on 88 tanks knocked out. By the end of January 1944, Wittmann had finally knocked out his 100th tank. Not soon after, he was sent a telegram from Hitler's headquarters, confirming that he would receive the oak leaves to the Ritterkreuz, which he would personally receive from Hitler on February the 2nd. With the oak leaves, Wittmann also received a promotion, becoming SS Obersturmführer. He would later command the 2nd Company of the Schwere SS Panzerabteilung 101, after its commander was seriously injured. At that point in time, Wittmann was the most successful tank commander in history. Wittmann would leave the Ostfront once and for all, with another 9 kills in the fight for the Cherkasy Pocket. After that, he would receive a hero's welcome at home, where Wittmann earned himself some well-deserved rest. He could finally spend some time with his 19-year-old fiancée, Hildegard Purmester. They would marry on March 1, 1944. At the end of April 1944, Wittmann joined his comrades again, this time in France. There they noted a severe change in the landscapes. Instead of the open plains of Russia, they found dense woods, hedgerows and towns. The day after the Allies landed in Normandy on the 6th of June 1944, Wittmann and his unit were called up for duty. On their way to Normandy, Wittmann and his men would see yet another new threat: air attacks. These air attacks knocked out several of the unit's Tigers on their way to the battle. In the night of the 12th to 13th of July, Wittmann reached the front near the town of Villers-Bocage. In the morning of the 13th, history would see something remarkable. When a column of British tanks and armoured vehicles approached his position, Wittmann seized the initiative and started his rampage. In less than 15 minutes, 13 or 14 tanks, 2 anti-tank guns, and 13 to 15 transport vehicles had been destroyed by the heavy SS Panzer Battalion 101. The vast majority attributed to Wittmann. After the action, Wittmann was recommended the additional swords to his already impressive Knight's Cross with oak leaves. On June 22nd, Wittmann received his swords by Sepp Dietrich. He was also promoted to SS Hauptsturmführer. The already famous Wittmann was now a rock star in Germany, and he probably boosted the morale of many Germans thanks to his actions. He was allowed to travel back to his family for a short period, and Wittmann was also offered a new job as an instructor in the Panzer training school in Paderborn. But Wittmann declined the generous offer, a decision with a fatal outcome. So he returned to his comrades in Normandy, who were thrilled with his decision to keep on fighting with them. On the 10th of July, Wittmann was given command of the 101st SS Heavy Tank Battalion. He was also introduced a new Tiger, the WW2 from Westernhagen, who was wounded some days before. The Allies kept increasing their bridgehead, and the fighting came even more intense. The British launched Operation Total Eyes on August 8th. Wittmann was tasked to go to Saint-Ours to occupy the heights around Saint-Agnan-de-Cramsenil, to the north, which had been seized by the British and Canadian units. On their way, they encountered some Shermans of the 4th Canadian Armoured Division, which they destroyed. A little bit further, next to the RN 158, Wittmann and his 7 Tigers were crossing open terrain towards the high ground when they were ambushed by tanks from A Squadron 1st Northamptonshire Yeomanry, A Squadron Sherbrooke Fusiliers Regiment, and B Squadron 144th Regiment Royal Armoured Corps. During the ambush, a shell penetrated the upper hull of Wittmann's Tiger, igniting the ammunition. The resulting fire engulfed the tank and blew off the turret. The legendary tank commander was killed in action, yet at the time he was listed as missing. Until today it remains uncertain who killed Wittmann. Soon after the battle, locals buried the bodies of Wittmann and his crew. Thanks to the research of Monsieur Jean-Paul Palou in the 80s, the grave was finally discovered at Gourmenil beside the main Confalès road. At the request of the German War Grave Commission, the bodies of the crew were carefully disinterred, with Wittmann being positively identified by the dental prosthesis that he had worn following a facial injury in Russia. After the identification, Wittmann and his crew were reburied at the nearby Soldatenfriedhof at La Combe. Wittmann left behind his wife and a legacy of a very successful tank commander. He was credited with the destruction of 138 tanks and 132 anti-tank guns. Some are reserved by Wittmann's achievements due to the fact that he had better armour and a better gun on the Eastern Front. That it's merely thanks to the Panzer that he was credited with so many kills. Nonetheless, I believe he is still one of the best commanders with a great situational awareness and overall skill. This was the Ace Destroyer. I hope you have enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this. Please let me know if you want other videos like this one, Otto Karius or Kurt Knispel for example. Cheers!